At 82 years old, I've gathered a lifetime of wisdom, but there's one decision that claws at my heart with deep regret: moving into a nursing home. At the time, it shimmered like a beacon of hope, the right choice, or so it seemed. My family, with the best intentions I'm sure, encouraged it, painting a rosy picture of round-the-clock care and ultimate comfort. I believed them, trusted them implicitly. But the moment I crossed the threshold, the vibrant colors of their promises faded into a stark, desolate reality, nothing like the haven I had envisioned. I know many of you might be wrestling with this very decision, either for yourselves or for someone you cherish. Perhaps it feels like the safest harbor in a storm, or maybe you've been gently persuaded that it will smooth out the rough edges of life. But please, before you take that irreversible step, I want to share 6 hard-earned lessons, 6 things I desperately wish someone had whispered in my ear before I packed my bags. Because the truth, the unvarnished truth, is that life in a nursing home isn't just about convenience. It's a seismic shift that alters everything you hold dear. And once you're inside those walls, the door doesn't swing open as easily as you might think. Stay with me until the end, because some of these revelations might just shock you to your core. And if you know someone teetering on the brink of this decision, this video might be the very lifeline they need before making a choice that will forever reshape their world. Now, let's delve into the heart of my regrets, starting with regret number 1, the crushing loss of my independence. The biggest shock, the one that hit me like a physical blow, wasn't the cramped little room, the rigid, unappetizing meal times, or even the sea of unfamiliar, often indifferent faces. No, it was the gut-wrenching realization that I had surrendered control over the very fabric of my existence. Before, in my own cozy little house, I danced to the rhythm of my own drum. I decided when my eyes would greet the morning sun, when I would savor my meals, and how each precious hour of the day would unfold. I could stroll through my garden whenever the urge struck, whip up my favorite recipes in my own kitchen, or simply sink into the comforting embrace of my favorite armchair with a well-loved book. But inside the sterile confines of that nursing home, I quickly discovered that my time was no longer my own. Everything operated on a schedule dictated by others, a relentless, unyielding timetable that paid no heed to my desires or needs. Breakfast was served at a precise hour, even if my stomach hadn't yet stirred from its slumber. Lights snapped off at a predetermined time, whether I was ready for sleep or not. Want to feel the sun on your face with a walk outside? You might need to ask for permission, a humbling experience in itself, and then patiently wait until someone, if they're available, can escort you. Simple, everyday decisions, like choosing what to eat or even what to wear, started to feel less like basic human rights and more like coveted privileges. I vividly remember my first week there, waking up in a bed that felt alien, unfamiliar. I sat up, stretched my weary limbs, and instinctively reached for the dog-eared paperback I had been engrossed in back home. But as my gaze swept across the bland, impersonal room, the crushing weight of reality descended upon me. This wasn't my sanctuary. My books, my cherished armchair, the little trinkets and comforts I had painstakingly collected over decades were gone, vanished. In their place were cold, sterile walls, a generic bed I hadn't chosen, an annoying emptiness that I couldn't shake. I was no longer the captain of my own ship. I was merely a passenger on someone else's voyage. The most agonizing part was the slow, dawning realization that once you willingly relinquish your independence, reclaiming it is a Herculean task, almost impossible. You adapt, you have to, that's the grim truth. You learn to swallow your protests when they serve you a meal you wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. You stop asking for that spontaneous walk, knowing it will likely be met with a sigh and a maybe later. You learn to mold yourself into their system, to become another cog in their well-oiled machine. But in that soul-crushing process, you start losing pieces of yourself, the very essence of who you are. If you're even considering a nursing home, I implore you to ask yourself, with brutal honesty, are you truly ready to surrender the small, everyday freedoms that paint the canvas of your life? Because once they're gone, trust me, you'll miss them with a ferocity you never thought possible. Regret number 2, the heartbreaking feeling of being forgotten. One of the cruelest realities of moving into a nursing home is witnessing the world outside continue its vibrant dance, seemingly oblivious to your absence. When I first arrived at Meadowbrook Manor, my family, bless their hearts, showered me with reassurances. "We'll visit all the time, Mom," my daughter, Susan, promised, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Every weekend, Grandma," my grandson, little Timmy, chirped, his small hands squeezing mine. And in the beginning, they keep their word. Susan would come by every Wednesday, her arms laden with magazines and treats. Timmy and his older sister, Emily, would descend upon me every Saturday, their youthful energy filling the sterile room with a semblance of life. For a fleeting moment, it felt like I still had a tether to my old life, a fragile thread connecting me to the world I knew and loved. But as the relentless months marched on, the visits became sporadic, like whispers in the wind. Susan's weekly visits dwindled to bi-weekly phone calls, her voice laced with apologies about work deadlines and unexpected errands. The grandchildren, caught in the whirlwind of school and extracurricular activities, became less frequent visitors. Holidays, once joyous occasions filled with laughter and warmth, became the hardest to bear. Everyone promised they'd be there, their voices brimming with festive cheer, but somehow, at the last minute, plans always seemed to crumble like old cookies. And suddenly, I'd find myself sitting alone in the dreary common room, a sea of vacant stares around me, each resident a silent sentinel, their eyes fixed on the door, desperately hoping today would be the day someone remembered them. It wasn't that my family stopped loving me. I know that in my heart. Life, with its relentless demands and distractions, simply got in the way. When you're not physically present in someone's daily life, it's easy, tragically easy, for them to assume you're doing just fine, that you're adjusting beautifully, that you don't need as much attention anymore. But the stark, painful truth is that the longer you reside within those isolating walls, the easier it becomes for the outside world to forget just how much you still crave their presence, their touch, their simple acknowledgement that you still exist, that you still matter. I remember one particularly bleak evening, sitting alone in my room, the silence amplifying the hollow ache in my chest. My phone lay heavy in my hand as I wrestled with the decision to call my son, Michael. I didn't want to be a burden, a nagging reminder of their forgotten promise. I didn't want to hear the strained politeness in his voice, the thinly veiled excuse for why he couldn't visit. So, with a sigh that felt heavier than lead, I placed the phone back on the nightstand. And in that moment, the cold, hard reality crashed down upon me. This was my life now, a monotonous cycle of watching the days bleed into weeks, hoping, always hoping, that someone would remember to include me in their world, a world that continued to spin effortlessly without me. If you're contemplating moving into a nursing home, I beg you to ask yourself, with unwavering honesty, are you truly prepared for the gnawing loneliness that will inevitably creep into your days? Because no matter how deep your family's love, once you're out of sight, it's a chillingly simple thing to become out of mind. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't already, I wholeheartedly recommend you subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Your support means the world to me. Now, let's move on to regret number 3, the insidious loss of my sense of purpose. When I made the move to Golden Years Retirement Home, I naively believed I was simply changing my address, my physical location. I didn't grasp the profound truth that I was also fundamentally altering the very reason I got out of bed each morning. Back in my own little cottage, I had responsibilities, however small they might have seemed. I had my daily routines, my cherished hobbies, and an intrinsic reason to greet each new day with a sense of anticipation. Even the seemingly insignificant tasks, watering my beloved African violets, brewing my own perfect cup of coffee, tidying up my cozy living room, provided a quiet sense of purpose, a feeling of being needed, even if only by my plants. But within the sterile walls of the nursing home, those familiar, comforting daily rituals vanished like morning mist. Meals were prepared and delivered to my room, The cleaning was efficiently handled by someone else, and my precious plants? Well, they weren't mine to nurture anymore. At first, a deceptive sense of relief washed over me. Finally, I told myself, a chance to truly relax. No more chores, no more nagging responsibilities, just endless rest. But after a few short weeks, a hollow emptiness began to gnaw at me. The days stretched out, long and monotonous, filled with nothing but the agonizing wait for the next scheduled activity, the next bland meal. I saw the same vacant look in the eyes of the other residents, people who had once been vibrant and full of life, now spending their days slumped in wheelchairs, staring blankly ahead, simply waiting for time to pass, for the inevitable end. There was a kind, gentle man named Walter, 84 years young, who had been a master carpenter his entire life. Back home, his small garage was his sanctuary, filled with the comforting scent of sawdust and the satisfying hum of power tools. He was always fixing things, building intricate birdhouses, crafting beautiful wooden toys for his great-grandchildren. But here, in this sterile environment, there were no tools, no projects, nothing for his skilled hands to create. I watched, with a growing sense of sadness, as he slowly withdrew into himself, his once strong and capable hands now idle in his lap, his eyes devoid of their former spark. "I feel useless," he confessed to me one dreary afternoon, his voice barely a whisper, and I knew, with a profound sense of shared loss, exactly what he meant. When you no longer have something to care for, something to work toward, something to pour your energy into, life begins to lose its luster, its meaning. The mind, starved of stimulation, slows down. The body, deprived of purpose, follows suit. And soon, you start to feel like nothing more than another anonymous resident in a place where time relentlessly marches forward, but nothing of real consequence ever truly changes. If you're contemplating a move to a nursing home, please, with all your heart, ask yourself what truly gives your life meaning. Because once you move in, finding that sense of purpose again isn't as simple as filling your time with bingo or daytime television. It's a desperate fight to hold on to the very things that make you feel alive, that remind you that your existence still holds value. Regret number 4, my health declining faster than I ever imagined. Before I made the move to Willow Creek Assisted Living, I was, for an 82-year-old, doing remarkably well. I wasn't about to run any marathons, mind you, but I could still manage on my own. I enjoyed my daily walks around the neighborhood, and I took immense satisfaction in preparing my own healthy meals. I had my little routines that kept me moving, kept my body engaged, the weekly grocery shopping trips, my gentle stretching exercises each morning, even just pottering around the house, dusting furniture and tending to my garden, kept my legs strong and my spirit lifted. But once I settled into the nursing home, everything subtly, insidiously, began to change. At first, it felt like I was simply embracing a well-deserved period of rest. Meals were conveniently brought to my table, and I no longer had to spend hours standing in the kitchen, chopping vegetables and stirring pots. If I needed anything at all, I could just press a button, and a friendly aide would promptly appear to assist me. But what I failed to realize, in my naive acceptance of this newfound ease, was that the less I did for myself, the weaker I became, both physically and mentally. I stopped moving as much, and soon my legs felt stiff and heavy, like lead weights. I found myself sitting for longer and longer periods, and before I even registered the shift, getting up from a chair started to feel like an arduous chore, a monumental effort. The muscles I had diligently maintained for decades, through gentle exercise and everyday activity, were disappearing faster than autumn leaves in a strong wind. And it wasn't just me. I witnessed the same disheartening decline in so many other residents. People who had walked in on their own 2 feet were suddenly confined to wheelchairs. Individuals who had once been fiercely independent now required assistance with the most basic tasks, things they had never struggled with before. It was a cruel paradox: the more help we were given, the more helpless we seemed to become. I vividly remember my neighbor, Eleanor, an 81-year-old woman who was as bright and bubbly as a glass of champagne when she first arrived. She used to take daily walks around the facility, her silver hair bouncing with each step, adamantly insisting that she wasn't about to let a number define her. But after just a few short months, I noticed she wasn't walking as much. Then she started relying on a walker, its metallic clink echoing down the hallway. Soon after that, she was confined to a wheelchair, her once vibrant eyes now clouded with a weary resignation. One day, as I sat beside her in the common room, she looked at me, her voice barely a whisper, and said, "I don't know when it happened, dear, but I feel like I've aged 10 years in just a few months." And that's precisely what it felt like. When you stop actively using your body, with alarming speed, starts to betray you. And in a nursing home environment, where everything is meticulously designed to make life effortless, it's dangerously easy to forget that movement isn't just about convenience. It's about fundamental survival, about clinging to the precious gift of physical autonomy. If I had possessed the foresight to understand just how rapidly my strength would diminish, I would have fought tooth and nail to keep moving, to stay active, to push myself even on the days when my energy flagged and all I craved was the comfort of my bed. If you're even considering a nursing home, please, for your own well-being, ask yourself, will you truly possess the unwavering motivation to keep your body strong and active when every aspect of your environment is meticulously set up to make life as effortless as possible? Because once you allow yourself to slow down, to succumb to the ease, getting back up, both literally and figuratively, is a far more daunting task than you can possibly imagine. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I wholeheartedly recommend you do so now and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. Your support truly helps me continue creating content that I hope will inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward to regret number 5, the deeply personal loss of privacy and dignity. One aspect of nursing home life that I didn't fully comprehend before moving in was the profound erosion of my privacy. Back in my own home, my little haven, I had the unassailable right to my own space. I could close my bedroom door and retreat into the comforting silence whenever I desired. I could wander around my house in my pajamas without a second thought and attend to my personal needs on my own terms, in my own time. But in the stark reality of a nursing home, privacy becomes a rare and precious commodity, a luxury you don't always have the privilege of keeping. From the very moment I arrived at Sunset Acres, I felt like I was constantly under observation. Staff members, though undoubtedly well-meaning, were constantly coming in and out of my room. Scheduled room checks, while perhaps necessary for safety, felt intrusive and dehumanizing. And the shared common spaces offered little respite, leaving you feeling perpetually exposed and rarely truly alone. Even the simplest, most intimate acts, like getting dressed in the morning or using the bathroom, often required the assistance of a stranger. I know they were simply performing their duties, but it's an incredibly difficult thing to reconcile, to accept help for tasks you've performed independently for the entirety of your adult life. I vividly recall my first week, constantly battling the unsettling feeling that I had to ask for permission to do things I had always taken for granted. Want to take a shower? You might have to wait until someone is available to assist you, your personal hygiene dictated by someone else's schedule. Need to use the restroom urgently? Sometimes pressing the call button meant an agonizing wait, longer than your bladder could comfortably endure. Even meal choices felt restrictive and impersonal. If you happened to dislike what was on the menu that day, well, too bad. You ate what you were given. And then there was the issue of roommates. Not everyone is fortunate enough to secure a private room, and sharing such an intimate space with a complete stranger, someone you didn't choose, can be incredibly frustrating and emotionally draining. I was lucky enough to have a relatively quiet and considerate roommate, but I heard countless stories from other residents who weren't so fortunate. Some had roommates who were loud and disruptive, others who were unclean and inconsiderate, and some who suffered from cognitive issues that made a peaceful night's sleep an almost impossible dream. And no matter how diligently you try to personalize your small corner of the room, to imbue it with a sense of home, it never truly feels like yours. Dignity is a fragile thing, a precious possession that can be easily shattered. And I didn't fully grasp just how much of mine I would have to surrender until I was already trapped within those walls. The casual way staff members would knock, often without waiting for an answer before barging in. The way you're spoken to, often in a condescending tone, like a patient rather than a respected individual. The way your entire day, your every routine, is dictated by a rigid schedule you had no hand in creating. It chips away at your sense of self, slowly eroding your identity. You start feeling less like the unique individual you are and more like just another name on a clipboard, another number in a system. If you're considering a nursing home, please, with profound introspection, ask yourself, are you truly prepared to relinquish the privacy and control over your own body and your own life that you have cherished for your entire existence? Because once it's gone, reclaiming that fundamental aspect of your being is an incredibly arduous and often heartbreaking battle. Regret number 6, and perhaps the most sobering of them all, realizing it's far harder to leave a nursing home than you could ever imagine. When I first made the decision to move into Lakeside Manor, I told myself it was just a temporary arrangement. I'll give it a try, I reasoned, see how things go. And if I don't like it, I can always just go back home. But what I failed to grasp, in my optimistic naivety, was the insidious way those walls can close in around you, making escape an increasingly difficult, and often impossible, feat. At first, the logistics seemed simple enough. If I wasn't happy, I'd simply pack my bags and return to my beloved little house. But home wasn't the same anymore. My house sat empty, echoing with a silence I had never known before. Maintaining it from a distance, relying on the occasional help of my children, became increasingly difficult and stressful. My well-meaning children had already started making changes, decluttering, selling things they thought I wouldn't need anymore, even tentatively considering renting out the place, their voices laced with a hesitant practicality. When I tentatively broached the subject of returning home, their initial enthusiasm quickly morphed into worried hesitation. "Are you sure you can manage on your own, Mom?" My son, David, would ask, his brow furrowed with concern. "Wouldn't it be safer for you to stay where you have round-the-clock care?" "We just want what's best for you," my daughter, Jennifer, would chime in, her voice filled with a mixture of love and a subtle, underlying resistance. And then there was the undeniable issue of my physical decline. After months of living in an environment where I didn't have to cook, clean, or even walk very far, my body had grown accustomed to this enforced inactivity. I wasn't as strong or as agile as I used to be. The independence I had once taken for granted had slowly, almost imperceptibly, begun to slip away, making the prospect of moving back home, of resuming those everyday tasks, seem more daunting than I could have ever imagined. I simply wasn't as confident in my ability to live alone anymore, and that gnawing fear, that insidious doubt, kept me feeling stuck, trapped. I met so many other residents who shared the same heartbreaking experience. They had initially viewed the nursing home as a temporary solution, a short-term fix, only to gradually realize that leaving wasn't as straightforward as they had blithely assumed. The longer you stay within those walls, the harder it becomes to readjust to life on the outside. Some people even lost the option entirely, their homes sold to cover the exorbitant cost of care, their savings depleted, leaving them with nowhere else to go. That's the cruel, unspoken truth that no one explicitly tells you. Moving into a nursing home often feels like a decision you can easily reverse, a trial period with a guaranteed exit. But for the vast majority of people, it isn't. The nursing home slowly, inexorably, becomes your entire world, your permanent residence. And before you even have a chance to fully process what's happening, the vibrant, independent life you once knew, the life filled with your own cherished routines and familiar comforts, starts to feel like a distant, fading memory. If you are even considering a nursing home for yourself or a loved one, please, with the utmost gravity, ask yourself, are you truly prepared for the very real possibility that once you walk through those doors, leaving might not be as simple, as easily reversible, as you currently believe? because once you settle in, the barriers to leaving, whether they be financial, physical, or emotional, can prove to be far more formidable and difficult to overcome than you could ever anticipate. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I urge you to do so now and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. Your support helps me continue sharing these important stories. Looking back on my life, I don't regret the passage of time, the inevitable march of the years. What I deeply regret is believing, with a naive trust, that a nursing home was my only viable option in my later years. I walked through those imposing doors expecting comfort, a sense of security, and an improved quality of life. What I tragically found instead was a world that systematically, relentlessly, chipped away at my very being, slowly stealing my independence, my privacy, my sense of purpose, and ultimately, my sense of self. Does that mean all nursing homes are inherently bad places? Not necessarily. I understand that some individuals genuinely require the intensive level of care that these facilities provide. But before you or someone you love makes that life-altering decision, please, I implore you, think long and hard about what you are truly giving up. Because once you move in, believe me, life will never, ever be the same. If I had the chance to do it all over again, I would have fought with every fiber of my being to remain in my own cherished home. I would have tirelessly explored every possible avenue for in-home care, sought out community support services, and made absolutely certain that a nursing home was the only truly necessary option before making such a profoundly permanent move. And if you are currently facing this difficult decision, I sincerely hope you take the time for deep introspection, to ask yourself with unwavering honesty, is this truly what's best for me, for my loved one, or is it simply what seems like the easiest solution right now? Because the life you have today, your familiar routines, your precious independence, your simple everyday choices, is a treasure worth holding onto for as long as humanly possible. Thank you so much for joining me today and listening to my story. I would absolutely love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share one thing that resonated with you from my experience and how you plan to use that insight in your own life or in the life of someone you care about. Your thoughts and experiences are incredibly valuable to me and to others who might be facing similar decisions, so please don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments truly gives me great motivation and encouragement. If you found this video helpful and thought-provoking, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more content like this, and share it with anyone you think might benefit from hearing my story. Your support helps me continue creating content that I hope will inform, inspire, and perhaps even change lives. Thanks again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.